Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rico Report, brought to you by the Buffalo Fanatics and my homie, my homie Z-Bot in the building.
What's on a Tuesday, baby? What's up, my man? Good to be with you.
Listen, we are going to have some fun tonight. We got some stuff to talk about. We got controversies. We got people making bonehead decisions. We got it all today. The Bills are in news. It's a good news. Unfortunate news for some people, but good news nonetheless. We dropped down and capped, saving some money in order for us to make a splash play in the offseason. What are we going to do? I have no idea. Brandon Bean, the Wizard, coming from my man, Kevin Girardi, likes to call Brandon Bean the Wizard. We're going to get it popping today, but before we get started, man, Zach, Z-Bot, what's the word? How have you been? We've been busy, man.
We've been busy, man. We've been busy. Things are good. As you might have seen out there, everybody watching, we have been busy on the back end with the Fanatics app. I hope all you guys have downloaded that by now. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? This thing, you're talking about Brandon Bean being the wizard. Become your own wizard, baby. Woo! With that GM simulator. So I know we've been busy working on that. And that's been a lot of fun because, Rico, I was just talking to my friends the other day. There's this period, and we're in the middle of it right now, between, right when the Super Bowl ends and about, I guess when you get up to the draft, about late April. This is the dark period. No football. Today was great because it really felt like, all right, we're back in it. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to, sink your teeth into. But man, this little patch of the year here, Rico, it is tough. Worst part of the year. So I'm trying to keep busy and keep myself preoccupied.
People say it's the worst part of the year, but we haven't hit the worst part. It's when the draft is over.
Yep.
Free agency's over. Then there's the lull. But we've got enough to pause when I say this. We've got enough to chew on until training camp starts, because there'll be draft, there'll be free agency, there'll be a full team for us to talk about. But right now, we are in the midst of certain changes around the league. Now, before we get into that, like you said, you get to be a wizard. Now, if you guys have no idea what we're talking about, folks, this is the time for you to put your GM hat on. If you haven't been putting it on, this is the time to do it. But more specifically, with our Bills, you have that opportunity. Go ahead and download that BF Network app ASAP in order for you guys to really see what's going on. Because a lot of times we sit here and say, cut that guy, sign that guy. But hold on a second now. Hold on. You have to now manage the cap. And right now you have the ability to do it in this app. Now, I can do all the talking. Z-Bot can do all the talking. But how about I play this so you guys understand exactly what I'm talking about? Overdrive. That thing together.
That thing's too hard. That goes too hard, Rico. What the hell, man? I'll tell you what, man. I realized real quickly using that app, I don't know a damn thing. Thank God nobody has me in charge of making any decisions for any professional organization. I'll tell you what, it's fun to go through the GM simulator because it's got everything. But if you want a true appreciation for how tough it is to be a good general manager in this league, go take a gander at that app for an hour and you'll realize pretty quickly.
Quick and to the point. So here we go, folks. Listen, the Bills are busy. The Bills will be busy. They're going to be booked and busy because they've got a lot of maneuvering to do with this team, with this roster. And one of few dominoes has fallen today. And if you guys have been using the app, I say 99% of you guys cut AJ Klein. You guys saw the cap number, 5.1 million saved. That was a no-brainer. Now, AJ Klein was a very serviceable linebacker. He did his job. At the beginning, we were like, what in the heck did we do signing this man for that much money? But he ended up being a valuable depth part of this Bills team. So shout out to AJ Klein for the time that he put in with the Bills, but you got to go. And that's exactly what Brandon Beat said to him and says, fam, 5.1 million, we just can't do it. Good luck with your future endeavors. So the Bills now have saved $5.1 million with AJ Klein out. Now, Z-Bot, we just this offseason signed Tyrell Dodson to a one-year deal, T-Dot, right? So look for T-Dot to jump into that AJ Klein role and really establish himself as an LB. I think he's going to be a very good LB for the Bills. I think he's great depth, good special teamer, solid special teamer. And when he was on the field, he did well. He does not shy away from hitting. That's the one thing that we try to stay away. But I mean, it always finds us in talking about Tremaine Edmonds and soft or not physical enough. Well, Tyrell Dodson brings his physical attributes to the Bills. What are your thoughts on this whole AJ Klein? Is snooze fest? You saw it coming? Are you kind of saddened? What are your thoughts on AJ Klein being departed?
I mean, definitely not sad. And I think it was inevitable. Like you said, if anybody was using that simulator, that was probably one of the first moves you made. And that's because the number he was being paid did not justify the output on the field. And currently right now, when you look at the linebacker roster for the Bills, like you said, you bring in Dotson, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Tremaine Edmonds. And the first thing I thought of is if you're going to free up money in that particular part of the field, does that give me a hint towards what they're going to do with Tremaine Edmonds? I've been a firm believer that he'll be re-signed. I know there's a lot of people on one side of the fence or the other when it comes to Tremaine Edmonds, but I've always looked at him as that guy drafted by Bean and McDermott in the the origin of this new era of the Buffalo Bills, and for that reason, I just see him sticking around. And then Matt Milano was of course compensated last year, and I think to this day is one of the most underrated players in the league. So when you looked at what the Bills were going to have to do this offseason, I think AJ Klein was definitely a move everybody saw coming, and for good reason, obviously, because today's day one, and right off the bat, that's the first move made. So I think that was inevitable. Like you said, it frees up some much needed cap dollars for the Bills, and what they wind up doing going forward is very interesting. I think this move was pretty inevitable. There's not many on this roster that are, though, Rico, and that's what's intriguing about this offseason.
Yes, indeed. Now, speaking of, I know a lot of people have been asking about who to bring on, what names out there are going to fit with this Bills. And the one name that keeps getting brought up, and it's a heated discussion whether you are in or out on this player, it is Gronkowski. Now, I had the fun ability to bring on my man Sterling from Cover One last on Friday, and we spoke about this, and we talked about being in our feelings. And one emotional person that I know is this guy over here. He's a very emotional guy, and he wants nothing to do with this part.
Hell no.
You're gonna have to explain to people why, because I'm in the camp of get out of your feelings. Get your feelings out of it. If you want to win and you give the best chance to win, you got to bring on quality players. You are on the other end of I want nothing to do with him.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Gronkowski potentially coming to the Bills or us pursuing him?
Right. Yeah. So when it comes down to the feelings, the only thing I really get overly emotional about, as you know, Rico, is the Bills putting numbers on the left side of the win-loss column or the right side of the win-loss column. And anybody who can come in and help add to the left side of that column is going to make me emotional in the best way possible. So I'm willing to take in anybody that's going to help the team. Gronkowski, to me, in this current state, is not that guy. And this is crazy for you to hear, because I remember last year we had many a talk about what the future with Dawson Knox was, and I admittedly had said, I just don't see it. Well, that's the same guy last year who decided to go out and lead the league in touchdowns at the position. I love what Dawson Knox has turned into. He has made some incredible plays in his young career and seems to only be getting better. I think bringing in an aging out basically at this point in his career, a banged up, on his way out the door Gronkowski to take away snaps from Dawson Knox, who I just don't think deserves to have snaps taken away from him at this point. I don't see it. The emotion thing, I understand it. I absolutely can't stand Rob Gronkowski. No question about it. 99% of Bills Mafia can't either. What he did to Tre'Davious White to this day is one of the worst things I've ever seen live. I'll never get over that. Not only that, but he was part of the evil empire. It's him, Edelman, Brady. They're all combined into that shell of guys that I will never, throughout the rest of my life, get over what they did to us. If he were to come in and help the team, I would put all that aside. I don't care. Like if Randy Moss had left the Bills or left the Patriots back during the days when they didn't lose a single regular season game and he went to the Bills, you wouldn't have seen me crying about it. Believe me. But I just don't think right now the juice is worth the squeeze to bring in Rob Gronkowski. I just don't see it. And if he was smart, why not retire? He already retired once. He came out for his boy Brady. He won another ring. And not only that, but he was a stud in that Super Bowl. A stud.
He was.
Just hang it up, Rob. I mean, honestly, you go out on top, and the amount of options that dude's going to have off the field, he's a character. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants, probably make more money than he ever did on the field. I'm all sorts of out on it, Rico. If I thought it was going to make the team that much better, I'd be all in. I just don't see it. I don't see how it brings the Bills to the next level, bringing in Gronk. I just don't see it. And if somebody would, have you heard a legitimate argument to the contrary on that? Have you heard a legitimate argument as to how Gronk could really propel the team? Because in my mind, I can't wrap my head around it, especially the way Knox played last year.
Well, yes, I can make an argument as to how Gronk can help this team. The one thing that we've always lacked, actually not always, the one thing that we've lacked, I'd say the last couple years now, was an established run game. We couldn't establish a run game. We were heavily dependent on Josh Allen, which is not a problem. That's who you paid. That's who you depend on. However, you've got to help your quarterback. And by helping your quarterback, you gain an advantage in the run game. And this is where a guy like Gronkowski comes in, little 12 personnel, double tight end. Let's move the pocket. Let's move it forward. And then on top of that, you've got a double threat in Gronkowski or Dawson Knox. Pick your poison. It'd be somewhat going back to the days where it was Hernandez and Gronk. And it was too hard to top. Now, the question really is he the piece that gets us over the top? No. He would not be the piece. We were already a potent offense. We wouldn't necessarily need Gronkowski to come over and make us the team to get over the hump. Now, the one thing that we don't want to do is and I've heard this terminology used before, lose the fastball. You want to continue to give Allen a bevy of weapons, and he would be a nice weapon, a complementary weapon. But we already have a tight end, and he's already ascending. Do we need to bring another guy to take away, like you said, snaps away from our guy, Dawson Knox? I say I'm out on Gronkowski, although I'm not a fan of him. I know he would help the team, but I don't think he brings us over the edge. So when it comes to the Gronkowski talk, I'm out. Z-Bot's definitely out. And
I mean, how many more times do you have to see that USAA commercial? I mean, that's the thing. I can't condone that, Rico. How many times have we had to suffer through that? Look, it's just, to me, man, it's him. And your point's valid. Like when it comes down to blocking tight ends and getting into the trenches, Gronk, he'll go down perhaps as the greatest ever at that position. Right. But that's all the reason why I just you know what I mean? Like it all ties in. If I thought he was going to come in and be that piece, but I look at it and it's like, if you're going to go that route and try to add a weapon, why not do it at the wide receiver position instead? That's how I look at it, or perhaps an upgrade at running back if you're really looking to add some sort of firepower. I just also think, too, when it comes to Gronk, like there's no way right now with Brady hanging it up again that he truly wants to go to another organization and start all over again. What more does that guy have to prove? His body's been through everything. And like I said earlier, he's already retired once. Brady took him out. And if it was anybody else, if Brady was gone for good after New England, Rob wouldn't have come back out. So I just think he's on his way out the door, and I just don't see it being worth it.
Done. We're done with that topic. We're moving on. Now check this out. You spoke about the receiver position, right? If we're gonna jump in to try to grab a receiver, that would be That would be the avenue we'd have to take. The real question is, what receiver out there would you mind bringing onto the team? Now, before we get into that, there are rumors happening that there is a big enough name in free agency that has somewhat made it clear, and I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, has somewhat made it clear, reached out somewhat in a way to the Bills and says, hey, I'm ready. Big time free agency. And one name comes to mind, right? And before we get to that, there's big news coming out of Seattle. Have you been living on the rock? Are you familiar with what's happening? Z-Bot, do you want me to jump into it, or do you want to jump into this?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, today was insane, and we got to get into that.
All right, this is what
the AFC has changed today. Big time.
So here's the deal. AFC West is going to be a monster division. Dude, Derek Carr, a very good quarterback, a very, very good quarterback. You now have Pat Mahomes in there, right? That's been running that division. You got young Justin Herbert.
Again with this. Bro, I'm just gonna throw this thing out afterwards. On God. Second time.
And as we are rolling, either you can keep it rolling or you keep it the way it is. We're gonna keep it rocking, baby.
Whatever. What you just saw right there is how all AFC West fans feel, knowing that they no longer have the especially Chiefs fans, the chokehold of the top of the division. Russ is coming to town. That right there.
Things are falling apart. Things are coming down right now, and people are talking a lot of junk right now. And right now, the AFC West is going to be crazy. You got Justin Herbert, Pat Mahomes, you got Derek Carr, and you've got the newly acquired Russell Wilson going to the freaking Broncos. Now, there was a big exchange that happened, right? The Denver Broncos get Russell Wilson in a 4th-round pick. The Seattle Seahawks, they get 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks to my understanding, and on top of that, they get Noah Fant. And I think there was another player involved in that, and there was a key player involved in that. What a blockbuster trade! What does this do to the AFC? Forget about the AFC West. Everyone's coming to the AFC and making it freaking hella difficult for the Bills to freaking do what they got to do, which makes it even better for us that when we do win it, we didn't go against cookie cutter type of teams, right? There is competition in the AFC. What does Russell Wilson coming to the AFC do? I mean, how does it affect the Bills? Does it affect the Bills a lot? Are we unaffected? What are your thoughts on that?
I think one way to look at it in a positive light, it's going to be very hard for any team in that division to win the conference. Because if you look at it, I mean, if I'm looking at it from the Chiefs standpoint, who obviously is the top gun, the team that we're always going to be looking at as the mountaintop leader when it comes to the AFC until we prove otherwise in the playoffs, it's going to be very hard. You talk about Derek Carr like you shoo him away. Mahomes has a real tough time with the Raiders every year, and Derek Carr would be either the first or second best quarterback in a couple of divisions. Now he is by far and away the 4th worst quarterback in that division. That's how good of a division that has become. They're going to eat each other alive. Every team in there has to play each other twice a year. Obviously, you look at the Bills situation, the AFC East. I mean, if you're a betting man, you're not picking them to lose more than 1 game at the most in that division, right? So right there, you already have a much higher, chance of making your way to the 1 seed, which we know now, of course, is the only team to get the bye in the playoffs. And of course, it gives you home field advantage, which we all know could have been very crucial in that divisional game. Things could have been differently. Who knows? Or things could have gone different. Who knows? But when you look at the AFC overall in comparison to the NFC now, with Brady retired, and obviously we'll get into Rodgers in a bit now, it is Rodgers. It is a stacked Rams team with Stafford, and then you can have the field. I don't care about anybody else in that conference. You look at the AFC, it is absolutely insane. And this is the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes effect, Rico. Everybody in that conference needs somebody that is no longer. That's why when you look at Mac Jones, and God bless him, anybody out there who's a Patriots fan, he's a serviceable quarterback, but he's not what any of these other guys are in this conference that you're going to need to go the distance. A guy like Mac Jones might work in the NFC, or at least better than it would in the AFC. Right now, you look around the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. What is it right now? 80% of them in the AFC, and they're all incredibly young. Russ is the only one who's somewhat aging, and even him, he's still got several years to go. And not only that, but Denver has a good weaponry system on offense. I'm telling you, Rico, this is a blockbuster move. The AFC is completely different today.
We're gonna get into that because what is Russell Wilson going into? Russell Wilson is going into a somewhat, people talk about an already somewhat ready team. This team is ready. You add a couple defensive pieces to that team. You already got Patrick Surtain over there, the junior or the second or the third, whatever. That's holding things down. This defense is only going to get better. They've got a solid offensive crew. My goodness, they got, okay, check this out. You got Jerry Hughes, that's already there. Noah Fant is out, which is fine. You got Tim Patrick. You've got Sutton over there. Who else you got? There's another name that I'm missing. You got that rookie that went over there. I can't remember his name. But dude, listen, this is going to be a problematic situation going forward. And I'm gonna tell you, folks, good luck. AFC West is going to be a freaking problem. And you got Javonte Williams running the football back there with Russell Wilson. The freaking Broncos are, let me tell you, man, it's gonna be something. It is gonna be something. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just going through the details of the package. So the full package for Seattle, it sends 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, a 5th-rounder. Quarterback Drew Lock is going over there. Defensive tackle Shelby Harris, tight end Noah Fant are all headed to Seattle.
They stole him.
Dude.
I mean, they won that, and it's not even close. That's how bad he wanted out of there. We all know this from last year. That's a steal. Anybody in the league who needed a quarterback, you give up that to replace Drew Lock and go with Russell Wilson, who is on pace to be a Hall of Famer. I'm kind of a Russell Wilson homer. He's my favorite player outside of
I love Russell Wilson.
I absolutely love him. Not only are you getting an unbelievable player, but you're getting a guy who is by far one of the greatest role models in all of sports, just top to bottom. It's unbelievable, Rico. Like I seriously cannot believe that Rodgers, on a day where rumor was maybe he would go to Denver, we get it flipped on its head, and now it's Russell Wilson. And if you look at it as far as longevity is concerned, Russell's got more years under his belt going forward than Rodgers will. So I'm telling you, I see him. This is foreseeable future here. Russell Wilson in Denver.
And let me say this. You said it earlier, and you said, listen, the AFC is not a joke, and it's the effect of having young quarterbacks getting your team over the hump, right? Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, you freaking got Pat Mahomes. So the Broncos are like, yo, if we're going to compete and we have somewhat of a good team, all we're missing is a damn quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater had him somewhat in playoff contingency to try to push forward, but it's just there wasn't good enough and adequate enough quarterback play. So they went out and get Russell Wilson. Now it cost a pretty penny. 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders. So they went all in on Russell Wilson to give them and bring them a championship, or at least get them to the dance, because you are going out against some tough quarterbacks. And it's not like we're scared of Russell Wilson. We handled Russell Wilson last time we played Seattle. So, and Josh Allen had a heck of a day. When you're going up against guys, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, you saw historically how great Josh Allen was this playoff run. The boy his head is on straight. His head is on a swivel. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And damn, all these quarterbacks coming to the AFC, it has nothing to do with me. What I got to do is win the division, right? That's why I got this T on, man. Division champs 2 years running. We're going for 3. We're going for 4. We're going for 5. And I hope this doesn't get put onto the cold takes that I'm asking for 5, 6, 7 division champs. We'll start with 2. We'll go for the 3rd. But one thing that's
unlike LeBron, I think there's some basis to that. I think they're actually
Now, with this move happening, and I'm going to jump into Jeff King's comment, DK Metcalf, I almost say DJ, DK Metcalf has to be sitting here going, what in the, y'all drafted me to make a difference, but I need a quarterback that can throw me the rock. Drew Lock? Are you kidding me? Man, let's stop that mess right now. And I couldn't even tell you who the backup quarterback, Geno Smith, was the backup quarterback over there in Seattle. That ain't gonna happen either. So what are the Seahawks gonna do? What are the Seahawks gonna do at quarterback? I have no idea. But nonetheless, Seattle, the freaking Broncos, though, look at the weapons that this guy is gonna be throwing to. Jerry Hughes, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler was the rook I was talking about. You've got stud running back Javonte. Dude, this team is going to be rolling. And I'm a big fan of Javonte Williams. That boy runs hard. So look forward to seeing what these the Denver Broncos, man, what they're going to be doing. It's going to be very interesting. So shout out to them. Big move. Amari Cooper is probably going to get released as well. They're going to try. The Dallas Cowboys want no parts of paying him $20 million a year. So what happens with him? This in the NFL every year, they do this to us. They put us in a frenzy of like, what the is going on? Who's going where? All is good because one thing that I see that I'm very pleased with is that we have a very settled in GM in Brandon Beane, knows what he's doing. His head is on straight, doesn't waver. Apparently we're gonna make a big splash somewhere. So we'll see what that goes down. Now, speaking of receiver, DK Metcalf. Does he ask for a trade? Does he have the stones? Do they even get anything for him? Is this a rebuild for the Seattle Seahawks? Like what's going on with DK? Would you consider DK Metcalf in Buffalo?
Well, I'll say this. If that guy asked me to do anything in person, I would do it. There's no way I'm saying no to him. That dude is a freak. I love DK Metcalf. Last year, I don't know what. I just don't know what was going on in Seattle. It was a dumpster fire. They barely even targeted DK Metcalf. The year prior, he couldn't be stopped. Last year, you barely heard of him. I think him and Tyler Lockett are movable, 100%. They're in complete rebuild mode. They're going to need to stack picks. Last year was a brutal realization for the Seattle Seahawks. And if you're willing to move on from Russell Wilson, then you're willing to move on from just about everybody. And it's a complete rebuild. So I think DK Metcalf is 100% up for grabs, depending on what you want to pay for it. I don't think the Bills are in a position to go after a guy who I consider to be a wide receiver one, especially when many other teams out there with a better cap situation would probably be better to serve to do it, not only because they have the money, but they have more of a need at that position, so they're willing to pay for it. Tyler Lockett, to me, might be the guy I'd look at, though. If you play fantasy football, Tyler Lockett is one of the greatest players you could possibly have on your roster. All he does is rack points up. I love Tyler Lockett. He's an overlooked name. He's getting a bit older, so I think you could get him for far cheaper than you would for DK Metcalf. I just don't know what you plan to build with DK Metcalf on that team when you're completely showing signs of a rebuild. So I think that they move off him. The thing is, though, Rico, when it comes to the Bills, I just see another team out there overpaying for him, whereas I just don't see the Bills doing that. However, if they did bring him in, there'd be no bigger fan of him than me. I love that guy. He is a fun player to watch. It doesn't get more entertaining than him on the field. That's why I'm going to miss it. And it was a shame they didn't utilize it last year because Russ is incredibly fun to watch the way he slings it down the field. And the way DK goes up and grabs balls and uses his physicality is incredible. But as far as the Bills' current situation, I'd be stunned if they did it. But man, oh man, if they found a way, I'd love it. I just see another team out there with a bigger need willing to spend more.
And I'm going to 100% agree with this. And on top of that, too, Mike Williams just scored a big deal today. It was like a 3-year, $60 million deal, $40 million guaranteed. Mike Williams is a good player. I mean, $20 million, golly, that's a hefty bill for a receiver. I'm thinking, I see Stephon Diggs in our squad, and you got Mike Williams getting paid money like that. Like, that's craziness to me. But this is free agency. This is what happens when you want to retain your own. You're going to have to pay the piper.
Well, go ahead. Rico, I was going to say, speaking of that, like Bean addressed that today, how that's going to be, that's obviously a topic of conversation coming up. You're going to have to, if you see Mike Williams getting that money, I mean, Stephon Diggs contract negotiations are right around the corner here. So I just don't see how you throw a DK on top of that. But good God, Rico, could you fathom it for like 30 seconds? How awesome that would be.
Well, listen, I'm about to put this in something else on your plate. I mean, I don't know how much you know about this player, but there is a player that has somewhat been tied. I mean, I don't want to say tied, but people are putting things together, right? They're going into universe and looking at, they're going into universe and reading articles and piecing things together. And there is a thought that Allen Robinson gonna be a free agent. Maybe we don't let Allen lose his fastball and we bring in Allen Robinson onto the Bills. I don't know how long of a deal that would be, but Allen Robinson is something that some folks are kind of piecing together, thinking that maybe it's the Allen Robinson, the big splash that Bean was going to make. So we maintain our fastball. That's the big thing, man, because our bread and butter, it is Allen. Allen is the butter. You know what I'm saying? Allen is the knife. Allen is the slice of bread. That's it. That's your dude, right? So you continue to, give the pieces around Allen, and our offense still puts the points on the board and gets us to where we need to. This defense is always going to be a good defense because we still retained our core. But Allen Robinson, keep that name in your head because that could be something that plays out. My man, the Kingpin, comes in. What up, Kingpin? He goes, Lockett cap hit is $3 million in 2022, $10 million in 2023, and Gabe Davis is up for 2024. Would fit perfectly. Well,
I love it.
Looks like my man Z-Bot is in the building talking about Lockett. I
love it.
Lockett would be a freaking kid. Listen, you have your deep threat. He's got great hands. He can run routes. And that would be a nice complementary piece, right? Gabe Davis can continue to be Gabe Davis, right? I know people want to input him at number 2, and I'm still up for him at number 2, but we're probably gonna part ways with Cole Beasley, right? That's $6.1 million off the books. Yep. So a Lockett, trading it for Lockett, sending them a 4th, maybe a 5th for Lockett, jumps right into the slot. Fam, that fastball continues to be
Don't get me going here, Rico. That's getting the juices flowing over here.
I wasn't even thinking of Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf can sit his ass over there in Seattle. Yo, let's talk about Tyler Lockett. But anyway, I'm on board. I'm on board. Now we're gonna switch topics a little bit. We're gonna stick to quarterback talk. Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? He's the bad man. Aaron Rodgers just struck a huge deal. $200 million. Dude is what? He's pushing 40? How old is he?
Yeah, I think he's
over 40.
I believe he's turning, if he's not already, he's just on the cusp. Let me see. He's 38, so he's
38.
touching
He's
40
pushing 40.
soon.
So
he'll be 39 this year.
So he signed a 4-year deal, $200 million, 153 guaranteed. Dude, man, he held them for hostage for a little bit.
You're damn right.
But what cap do they have? I'm about to open up Spot Track and see what's going on because you pay that man that much money. I don't know what his first year deal is going to look like. I mean, shoot, it's a 4-year deal, $200 million. You get money.
It's the highest contract in the history of the NFL. Although he did come out and say that the logistics that Ian Rappaport had tweeted out were not accurate. So I don't know what to make of any of that. But then again, I don't know what to make of anything this guy does. Everything is a damn after-school special with Aaron Rodgers. I can't take it. As soon as somebody says something, he's got to tweet out, oh, the parameters of my contract aren't legitimate. Dude, whatever. I'm so sick. I'm so glad he signed because it's over. Thank God it was day one. But you said earlier, held hostage. I mean, I thought Dak Prescott took Jerry Jones for a ride a couple years back after he had him franchise tag him and then wound up getting a fat contract. But Aaron Rodgers, all of this drama, all of this and that and the other thing and just being a complete sideshow for 2 years just to get bounced by Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs.
There you go.
And then he goes on and he doesn't leave, doesn't force a trade, doesn't do anything. He just winds up running ransom. It's incredible how that's what it all wound up coming down to. It really is.
When you're a big time quarterback, you're a big time name, you have the table to do. I mean, he had leverage. He had the leverage.
Big time.
Right? When you have the leverage, you can play what games you want. And the GMs are, I mean, listen, we've seen players that have leverage, and we've seen players that have no leverage, right? And when you have no leverage, you got no say. You can say you're sitting out all you want. Your ass is playing, whether you like it or not. But Aaron Rodgers had all the leverage in the world, and he knew it. He knew it. He played him. He played it well. He got his deal, and he stays in Green Bay. And here's the thing I hope more for. You pay that man all that money, y'all better get a championship out of this man. Out of 18, I mean, this is how difficult it is to win a damn championship. He's only got one championship. He's going into year 18.
Nobody wants to talk about that ever, Rico. Nobody ever brings that up when it comes to Rodgers, ever.
Guess
ever.
what? We bringing that bitch up. Yo,
Good.
One championship, 18 years. Now, I know how difficult it is to win. I mean, look, Dan Marino got nothing, and he's a Hall of Famer. I get it. But you paying this man boatload of money, yo, he better bring you that championship. You know, there's a one tiny little problem. Josh Allen is still in the fucking building. He's still in play. Yo, if he's got anything to do with Aaron Rodgers not getting it, that's my man Josh Allen, because yo, he is hungry for it. We need that. Russell Wilson can go anywhere he wants to. This has got to be the year for the Bills. It has to be. It has to be the year for the Bills.
For Rodgers in the NFC, though, I mean, Rico, they should waltz. I mean, if they don't get to at least the NFC Championship 2 or 3 out of these 4 years, look at the NFC right now. I mean, what would be the excuse? It's him, it's Stafford, and then, like I said earlier, like whatever. But when it comes down to Rodgers, he's had incredible teams through the majority of his entire career in Green Bay. And I mean, it's just been loss after loss in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. And yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying as far as like it's championship or bust, but like when you really get down to it, like it 1,000,000% is like it you can't justify. Like everybody's constantly talking about Aaron Rodgers as the first greatest of all time. And I love watching him on the field. And I think that holds up.
Yep.
But nobody ever talks about the fact that when he gets into the playoffs, it's not good. It's not good. And it's been for that talent, Rico. I mean, imagine having that talent on your team for that long and just not being able to get it done again. I mean, it's truly amazing. So I agree with you there. This is Super Bowl or bust. And in the NFC, no excuse right now.
There is none, right? Listen, those back-to-back MVPs sure gave Jesus type powers. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, he had all the leverage with those 2 back-to-back MVPs. I mean, he had a hell of a year.
Yeah, no doubt.
End of the day, you are paid to win games, number one, and deliver a championship. But you can't lose to friggin' Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers. I don't give a damn what it is. When you had Devontae Adams, you had the whole crew with you, and you lost to Jimmy G. Yeah. Golly, that's some craziness. But shout out to Aaron Rodgers. He got to the bag. Good for him. And we are gonna move on, man. We're gonna move on because there are several guys that got to get to the bag, and they are actually on the Bills. But there are guys that are going to get that. We're going to have to stick a knife in that bag and kind of rip it open and let the money pour out, because we can't give you guys the bag. So we're going to have to let people go. So ladies and gentlemen, we are right back into the POP. It's a process or a problem. And I have my guy Z-Bot with me, and he's going to help me find out who is part of the process and who is part of the problem. And you know what? I think it's best to start. I'm going to start with the defense. I'm going to start with the defensive line. And we've got some decisions to make. All right. So here's the deal: bringing people back, getting people cut. We have listen, let's get right into it, man. Greg Rousseau. I love Greg Rousseau. I think it was a good signing. I think it was a proper drafting, and he's going to be a problem for years to come. We saw glimpses of nice football, great football from him, and then he hit a rookie wall, which is natural. You're going to learn. But to me, he's all process. I mean, I don't think we have to talk about it. He is process. There's nothing else for us to talk about. And we go from there. Here's a question for you. Carlos Basham. I know you and I aren't college guys. We don't go heavy into college ball and dive deep. So we're not about to do that on this show. But we can give our opinion on what we saw this year from these rookies. And Carlos Basham, to me, he was adequate. I think he didn't get enough playing time, in my opinion. But how you feel about Carlos Basham? Part of the problem is he a process guy, or do we trade him away? We don't need all that. Or you got Jerry Hughes and Addison leaving. So these young guys are coming up. Carlos Basham, Boogie Basham, you win or you out?
Well, I don't think you can't really be in any position to trade him, I guess, especially after one season. I just think the defensive line right now, like you just said, I think Jerry Hughes done. Obviously,
he's a problem. He's not part of the process.
No, he's not. He's definitely not a problem. I just think at this point, I would be shocked to see Jerry Hughes come back at this stage in his career. I mean, maybe shocked isn't the right word. I just think that the direction that they're trying to go there, either way, if he comes back this year, what are you thinking? Probably the last season there, right? But young guns on the defensive side, I think when you look at Basham, when you look at Rousseau, and obviously more Rousseau than Basham, played only 8 games last year. So I don't think the sample size is incredibly large in order to make a decision like that. If you do trade him, what's the worth really? I don't think anybody necessarily is a problem. You know what I'm saying?
The name of the show is a problem or process. You have to say it's a problem.
Then I'll say it's a process because he's fresh year in. I don't think we've given him enough time yet. Correct. And I think that right now on that D line, which was a major focus, of course, last year, and that's where a lot of the youth has gone on the line. I think that you obviously have to invest more time into a guy like Boogie Basham or any young gun, really, for that matter, in order to figure out what you're going to get out of it. But as far as process or problem, I would definitely say process. I think that when you look at the defense last year, obviously there were some gaping holes in certain situations, but overall, it was an incredibly impressive year for a Bills defense that I don't think many people expected to have that good of a year. And like I just said, I mean, there was definitely hiccups along the way. And I mean, I don't need to point them out. They were all obvious. But I think the way that they're going with this defense, the direction that they're heading in, I really do like the way that things have been going. And I think that if you have young guys at your disposal, like Boogie Basham, that you can give some more opportunities to and see what they pan out into, then why not? So a year in, I would definitely say part of the process before I would say problem.
Done. I'm part of the process as well. Boogie Basham, part of the process. I mean, the writing was on the wall. We went back to back. We went Rousseau, Basham, knowing that there's a potential that we will be missing out or releasing or letting them go. Mero, Addison, and as well as Jerry Hughes. Now, Star Lotuleilei, problem or process?
You go first on this one because he interests me. He
does not interest me enough. He interests me.
No. Just me talking about him interests me because I don't know what to make of him.
Well, I'll tell you what to make of him. You have a pair of scissors next to you? Because I do. Cut his ass and get rid of him. Listen, we brought him back and we gave her. I'll speak for myself. And I'll speak for a lot of people that I've been watching and reading articles and seeing other content creators. He is gonna be a big piece. Welcome back, Star Lotuleilei. Yeah. We needed that one tech. What the heck did that one tech do for us this year? Right? We were supposed to see that one tech gobble up, you know what I'm saying, double teams and allow Ed Oliver to do his thing. I still didn't get that. Now, a lot of that is to blame on McDermott too, with all this bevy of rotations and crap like that. And you guys already know how I feel about that. But to me, we're moving on, man. We're moving on. We've seen what we need to see, and we saved $1.5 million by letting your ass go. So are you part of the process, Mr. Lotuleilei? No, you are not part of the process. You are a problem. Now, I'm going to pass the mic to our man, Z-Bot. Process or problem?
Circling back on Basham, when I kept saying young as if he was young in the sense of age. I mean young in the sense of the process. 8 games, first season. So just to clear that up, I saw a comment and I'm like, yeah, that definitely did not come across that way.
He's so young.
I mean, he is definitely young, but not the way I think I was making it come across.
Got it.
Anyway, Star. I think the problem with him is he took the year off, right? And then everybody was expecting him to be a big piece to come back and change things up. And I just don't think that was the case. And like you said, and this is a problem I have with this entire D-line in general, it's a fact of, one, there's so many rotations that it makes you wonder a couple of things. One, how can you evaluate any of these guys to a certain extent where you think that they're answering this question that you're posing, process or problem, when you can barely get a gauge on everybody in a collective way because there's so many different circulations of a roster out on that line any given week. 2, if there's constant rotation like this, then what does that say? If there wasn't a need for a rotation, there wouldn't be one. So that's what makes me wonder. If he's supposed to be a major part of the process, Rico, well, then why is the D line constantly being shuffled like dominoes? That's what I want to know. And if he was supposed to come back after taking 2020 off and be this major piece, well, I just don't think that was inevitable last year. And moving forward, I just don't think that he's ever going to be some stud. So that's why the question you pose is tough because I'm thinking about process or problem. Like when it's going forward with this line, it's really tough to get a gauge, isn't it? Like when you're thinking about it from that standpoint and moving forward, you look at a guy like Star, and I just don't know if it's somebody that you're desperately looking to continue to build around. And I think you feel the same way.
I absolutely do feel the same way. And I'm looking at Star Lotuleilei, and I see the savings. We save 1.5 million in the cut of Star Lotuleilei, but now his dead cap, I'm just gonna make sure I have his dead cap down pat. So I mean, 32 years of age right now. Damn, that dead cap. Okay, that dead cap was for 2021 was 12 mil. So right now in 2022, it's a $7 million dead cap.
So you're probably not. What are you gonna do?
I absolutely hate that we'd have to keep him just because of that dead cap. Like, fam, like, come on, man. Yo, that's one guy that contract I hate that we had to deal with. Next year would be the year that we'd say, let me get rid of him. Because I mean the dead cap drops to 2.6, but yo, we could still be with Star Lotuleilei this year. Oh my gosh.
I'd imagine with those numbers we will be.
Oh, you know what? I'm actually turned off when I see that. And I'm sitting here like, yo, does that hinder us? Did that hinder us in moving on and drafting a defensive tackle? Because we already have one in freaking Star Lotuleilei. And we should not stop. Right? We should not stop. There's going to be some major moves that we got to make. We do still save 1.5 mil, but there's a dead cap of 7.5, almost 8 mil. Man, I'm still saying he's part of a problem. I'm not changing up. Problem. He's a problem. He's not a difference maker. That's the point I'm trying to get to. You need to be, if I'm paying you that type of money, you need to be an impactful player. And I don't feel he's that impact player.
But that's back to what we were talking about, Rico, right? Like, who is? That's the problem.
We may not have, right now we may not have that impact player. I mean, we have the impact player in Ed Oliver. We can unleash more potential out of Ed Oliver if we have better DT play, one tech DT. So it allows our guy Star Lotuleilei to be one-on-one with a great one with Ed Oliver, so he can actually get his one-on-ones with these average-ass guards and these guards that are out there, right? I don't say average-ass guard, but compared to his play, he's quick. He's got a great motor. He can get around the bend. Dude is nice. But when you put him in a one-tech, when that's not his position, that's uncool, man. Star Lotuleilei was supposed to kind of unleash him, and I don't think he did. So that's why we got guys that are in the draft that we could be bringing on, like, you know what I mean, Travis Jones or freaking Jordan Davis. But we ain't gonna get into that. It's not draft talk yet. We about to get into it. So for me, Star Lotuleilei, I'm out on Star Lotuleilei, man. Jason Miller comes in and says, hey, cut Star, keep Phillips. Phillips ended the year strong, and then which is great because it brings me into asking a question about Phillips. But before we get into Phillips, my man Akeem Richards came in and had a great question. What are we doing? I got to try to find his comment here, but he came in. Who's got the higher upside, Basham or Epenesa? That to me is we haven't seen. I mean, it sucks to say, but I haven't seen enough of AJ Epenesa to even know if he's got the upside. We've seen flashes, you know what I'm saying? But there's such a rotation between these guys. We don't see them enough. Right? So it's really tough to answer that question, but who's got the higher upside? I'll give Epenesa and it sounds weird for me to say, but I'll give Epenesa the edge because I've seen really good things out of Epenesa, and I'd love to see more. But question is, I'd like to see more, and I don't think I've seen enough. So Akeem Richards, I'm going to say AJ Epenesa. What are your thoughts on the higher upside between those two guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably agree. If you look at what he's done on the field over the last two seasons, it's been pretty similar each year. It just goes back to the point we were talking about earlier. And I think that this is a problem that happens when guys like Aaron Donald and TJ Watt exist and people on the defensive line that are absolute game changers. All you hear from any team who is a pass rush threat away from really going over the top is that, we need one of those guys. We need one of those guys. Yeah, well, there's about 5 of them who exist on the planet, right? So that's the issue. The Bills do not have one of those guys. And I think we go in and we get people that we expect to just all of a sudden evolve into those positions, right? Yep. Rousseau was the most recent. Epenesa, obviously, a couple years ago, people think that he can turn into a game changer, right? And then you got Basham here. I mean, I don't think anybody's expecting that, but obviously when you draft guys, I think that is the expectation, but it just doesn't necessarily exist. So I think all that we're looking for, Rico, and I think based on how we've been talking about it here, we're in unison. We're just looking for a core group of guys. I don't necessarily think anybody here is expecting anybody on this current roster to turn into some absolute stud on this line. But I think we're looking for some stability that's good enough on the D-line to be a threat, while at the same time supporting an outstanding backfield cast that's truly the strong suit of this team. When it comes to those upsides, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Epenesa there just because I think time is on his side. And I think that he got incrementally better last year in comparison to the year before. But like you said, until we get a concrete set in stone line where the coaching staff seems to be as confident in these players as we should be, it's really tough to tell.
I'm gonna tell you, it is tough to tell, and I need a concrete answer for you. Star Lotuleilei, process or problem, sir?
Well, listen, I saw a great comment in here, and this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to use as my argument for process, and it was a great point. I'm trying to find it. Somebody in here said, I have a real tough time paying $7 million for a player who's not playing on my team. And for that reason, I completely agree. At that position right now, losing $7 million on the dead cap for a guy that I don't think he's necessarily a detriment to the line. So for that reason, I'd rather have him being utilized for that money. And I think when it comes to what seems to be a resounding amount of resentment for you towards Lotuleilei, I think that you'd probably have a tough time knowing he's collecting $7 million not being on the team either, right?
You know what? And I'm so glad you brought that up because I could sleep well knowing I'm paying $7 million for him to be not on the team, but I'm replacing that space with someone that is cheap from the draft that I know that will make a difference, right? Because when we sat there and paid Trent Murphy to collect dust and he was on the field, and what good did that do us? It did us nothing. He just collected dust and collected $8-9 million. When I saw that, I said, never again. If I'm going to collect it, I'm going to collect it. Yeah, it's going to be sitting on the back burner, but at least I don't have this guy wasting space on my roster, and I can actually bring somebody on and fill that spot. So I'm not buying this whole collecting dust, and you might as well just pay him to be on the squad. No, thank you. He didn't make enough of an impact for me. I'm about impact players. We talked about stuff. We wasted Josh Allen's abilities and stuff like that. I'm not saying that he's the sole piece that would waste the abilities of Josh Allen bringing us forward, but you replace that piece with somebody else that will get us over the hump, right? And defensively, we know damn well that we put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but we don't finish. And a guy like Star Lotuleilei ain't rushing the passer to make a damn difference. His job was to gobble up double teams, and you know what? I don't think he did enough of a difference for us to have a difference maker on the squad. So for me, I'm out. Cut his ass. He's part of the problem. We're going to move on to the next. Unless you wanted to jump on that.
I just want to say in totality here, this team was 13 seconds away from the AFC Championship, and in my humble opinion, 13 seconds away from winning a Super Bowl. Yep. This team, yes, they have their holes, and I think the D-line is where a lot of people would probably hone in on those holes, right? Nobody was stopping the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. Whoever got the ball last was going to win it. That was not a personnel problem, the reason they lost that game. That was a coaching problem. Whoever draws up prevent defense at the 20-yard line deserves to lose the game. Nobody on that D-line could have made a difference. And if you look at the replays, they actually got decent pressure on Mahomes, despite the fact that they were playing Hail Mary-style defense. So I understand what we're doing here, and we need to get better at the D-line. But I think the nice thing is no matter who you're plugging and playing in here, and obviously we want a much better unit on the D-line that is a force, which we currently don't have. We don't have a force. With that being said, we did have a top-tier defense, and if they were just able to put a competent scheme together in 13 seconds, that defense would have been a Super Bowl champion defense. That's just my opinion. I think because of that, it makes me feel better about the fact that even though we're not concrete in these spots like we're talking about clearly, it still makes me feel better because the reason I bring this up is you just mentioned wasting Josh Allen. I know anybody saying that's just off base. It's not true because that wasn't the problem. That wasn't the problem in the divisional round. That's what?
You're right. Players weren't the problem. You know who the problem was? Your head coach was the problem. So don't give me that bull. We did waste his opportunities, and the problem may not have just been the players, but your head coach, my head coach, Mr. McDermott, decided to make an executive decision. Rumor has it that cost us this fucking game. So don't
listen, Rico. There's a reason why they won't give anybody an explanation for it. And you want to know why? There isn't one. That's why.
Stop it. There is an explanation.
What is it?
We're going to get into it because I was trying to let that shit go, but you brought it up, so we're going to get into it. Fam, he owes us an explanation. I know a couple weeks ago we were talking about it, and because there wasn't too much buzz around it. Most people were like, let it go. No,
forget it. Let it go. Never. Are you kidding me? Let it go.
Let it go. Listen, at the end of the day, squib or end zone, and he made a decision. Live on that. Admit it to the folks.
Oh, that's what you're hung up on. You're hung up on the kick.
I'm hung up on that.
See, I'm over the kick. I don't give a damn about the kick. Because to me, I understand.
That's what wasted us of getting the damn Super Bowl.
You're right. A squib would have made sense. 100%. I completely agree with you. But I'm over that because at the end of the day, if they had squibbed it, you don't know what happens, right? Say that they squib it and they get the clock barely runs off, right? And they knee it down wherever the hell at the 20, 25. The defensive scheme they ran to stop Mahomes and an incredibly high-powered offense was never going to be able to prevent them from getting into field goal range. It was absurd. And that, to me, is where there's no explanation. Because how can you possibly explain defending that team with that weaponry in that field position with that amount of time left and running up the defensive scheme that you do? There's just no explanation for it. I don't understand. I will never understand. And they did it twice, Rico. That's the thing. They ran it to Tyreek Hill on the first snap, and we've all seen it by now. The video of Kelsey saying, if they do that again, I'm going to just run backyard football, and I'm going to be wide open, which is exactly what happened because they did it again. They had two opportunities. They let Tyreek Hill get that initial catch. He gashed him up the middle. And they did it again. And they were playing like they were defending the end zone. And clearly, like, the reason you can see I'm getting all fired up, it's because I will never get over it. People saying get over it. You cannot explain that. And they had an opportunity to change it. There was a timeout. They called a timeout and ran it again.
Who is it on? Who is it on?
It's on the coaching staff. It's on McDermott and Leslie Frazier, 1,000,000%. There's nothing that anybody on that field was going to do to prevent perhaps the greatest tight end of all time and the fastest guy we've ever seen on a field do what they did to get into field goal range with an incredibly great kicker. They were running a defense to prevent a touchdown in that situation. There's no explanation for it whatsoever.
You know what? The explanation should have been given to us as fans. For people like you that buy season tickets, that buy the merch, that go to that overly expensive store and buy jerseys, hats, sweaters, all that stuff to support the team. And you have the nerve
believe me, I'm putting them all through college. Put them all through college.
I'm telling you, you put out an explanation and be done. Stop cowering over your little football caliber, playoff caliber, and all these little mantras and sayings and hiding behind that. Get on the mother effing
so play McDermott right now, Rico. What's the explanation then? Because I'd love to know. If you think there is one, what is it?
Here? Matt Perino, BF, Rico, you there? Z-Bot, you there? Everybody there? Here's the deal, guys. I want to end this once and for all. Here's the deal. We wavered back and forth on what we should do in terms of kicking the ball or squibbing it. I made the executive decision to kick it out of the end zone because I thought our defense could stop. Yes, we didn't make the proper adjustments on defense, and it was on me. Maybe we should have squibbed it, but we didn't. We kicked it through the end zone. I made that decision. Furthermore, defensively, here's the deal, folks. We should have pressed. We played prevent defense, and this is what happened. This player was in here. You may not have to name any players. You just kind of give us a base of an explanation as to what happened on those two stupid plays.
Coach Z-Bot here from the Buffalo Fanatics. When Tyreek Hill got 30 yards on the initial catch, and you had an opportunity to realize, wow, that was completely stupid to run prevent defense while you're on the 20 when you need a field goal. What did you see there to say, hey, let's run that exact same scheme again? Because clearly it worked so well the first time. What did you see there, Coach?
Hey, thanks, Z-Bot. This is a really good question. Well, you know what? Honestly, what we thought there was, you know what I'm saying? Coach Frazier and I spoke about it. We thought about it. We called the timeout. We saw the look that we liked. We saw we had the pieces on the field, and it was just a matter of execution. And in this play, what ended up happening here is our corners were playing boundary when we should have been playing sideline. We should have been putting a little inside to the field and keeping them away from the sticks and also keeping them from getting further. But we failed to do that. We should have called this defense, but we called this defense instead. And that's what put us in this position. Honestly, that's on me as a coach. That's on me and my staff. That's something we're going to work on the offseason. We effed up. This is what I think that Bills fans need to hear, and this is coming from Coach McDermott himself. We effed up. I effed up as a coach, and I've got to do way better. That's it. That's all. I'm pissed off. Everybody's pissed off, and we're going to get better this offseason, and that starts with me as a head coach, and I got to get my shit together. Any other questions?
I would have absolutely loved that. I would have loved an absolute spitful, but to me, that's not an explanation because everybody knows the explanation I think people are looking for is there's some legitimate reasoning like, oh, we ran this in practice and it worked or whatever. The explanation is what you just did. And what you just did is explain the fact that you completely screwed up. You completely mismanaged the moment. So to me, I would appreciate, yes, but guess what? The time for that is completely salad. That should have happened in the press conference 20 minutes after the game where you take the podium and you say, that was pitiful. We screwed up. That's completely on me. The time for that is salad. But looping back to what everybody wants, and that's an explanation, and everybody always says we're not owed one. Well, then if we're not owed one, who is? Because the reason that these teams exist is because of the fan base. It's not like you owe somebody an explanation for a job that you work who has nothing to do with your job. We have everything to do with the entire existence of this realm, this sphere, this career that everybody has here. The only reason that people are asking for an explanation is because there's millions of people who support you and are the reason that the team is a team in the first place. And I know it's very black and white, right, to say this, but sports to me are different than any other career or anything where the fans are deserving of an explanation because the fans are the reason that the whole thing exists in the first place. But at the end of the day, your explanation is exactly what needed to be done. And it wasn't necessarily an explanation. It was essentially an admission. It was an admission of complete effery, right?
Accountability.
You're damn right. Accountability is the right way to put it.
You put it down, you get it over with, you get your ass roasted by the media, you get your ass roasted by the fans, but we will still love you in the end because guess what? We're going to be right back at it again. And not only that, you got the fans about to put up a bill of $1 billion to get this beautiful stadium built in Orchard Park. And you sit there, you can't explain some shit to us? Fam.
What I don't get either is we all have two eyes, by the way. Like, it's not like we can't watch that play and realize that it was a complete misfire, whatever they tried to do. So just own it. I understand. That's what I totally get that.
Listen.
Yeah. No, I think the problem I have is just that I think when people are asking for an explanation, the way that I see it, or at least my interpretation of it, is that they think that there was some legitimate, like, there was this scheme or this idea that was going to work and they had done this and that. I just think that in generality here, it was just completely mismanaged. I think people are waiting for an explanation to say like, well, we did this and that, and this is why we did it. There is no why. They did it. I don't think they knew why they were doing it, and it didn't work. And because of that, it's exactly what you had just done in your mock press conference there, and it's an admission of a complete screw up. 100%.
And you know what? And we're gonna put a pin in this because I know people are sick and tired of it. But and just to end this, at the end of the day, too, us as fans are asking for explanation. Dude, some of the players on the team didn't even get an explanation. They got into the locker room and nothing was said. Nothing was explained. They're sitting here like us wondering what the happened. I mean, they're talking amongst themselves, but it starts from the top leadership. You feel me? And you know what I'm saying? Every team talks whenever a free agent leaves or whatever the case is. There's always some rumblings. You're never going to be on a team where everything is flawless. This is just not the case. But at the end of the day, explain yourself. And I hope he learns from this bullshit.
Well, you know what though, Rico, McDermott is that guy too. I really like McDermott and the way he handles himself, and he's a high character guy. I really do love McDermott. I do. He strikes me as the guy to do that. So that to me, I understand what you're saying because it's kind of the more I hear about how it's like this gigantic secret, that to me doesn't make sense, and that doesn't seem very big process way. You know what I mean? That doesn't really seem very linear to the type of culture that's going on there. There is no secret, by the way. So continuing to compound on the idea that there's there's no reasoning or explanation given because no one deserves it. That's just, it's not the way that this team is built. It's not the way this culture is. So it doesn't really make any sense. And everybody already knows the answer anyway. So whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I'm with you. Whatever. You know what I mean? We're done with it. It's over with. I just have to get that. I think that felt good to get that off my chest.
That felt so great. I haven't bitched about that game, Rico, in like a month. That was awesome.
You needed it. Damn it.
Yeah.
You needed it.
I just exercised some demons I forgot I even had, man. That was great.
Now, here's the deal. We just got some news right now. Bobby Wagner, Seattle Seahawks linebacker, solid linebacker, very good linebacker, has been released, has been cut by the Seattle Seahawks. So shoot. For those that, you know what I'm saying, I've been looking for a linebacker to, you know what I'm saying, jump on the squad, which I highly doubt we're gonna do first and foremost. But Wagner would be ideal.
And speaking of linebackers, Rico, Titans just re-signed Harold Landry to a massive deal, $87.5 million at outside linebacker just now. 52.5 guaranteed for 5 years. That's a fat bag for a linebacker, man.
Linebacker / D line, like he's an edge rusher. Yo, good for him. Yo, The bag is heavy. The bag is. While teams are giving up the bag, we're going to be actually having to get cute. We're going to have to try to maneuver, move things around, and try to maintain that potent defense and offense all together. So Brandon Beane has got his work cut out for him going forward. So, yo, shout out to Landry making some money. Bobby Wagner is going to be in the wind. Who knows where he's going to go? There's going to be some big things happening. A lot of teams are going to be cutting players. So will the Bills. We might be cutting some surprise players. You never know.
Well, what does that say right there, Rico? Another piece of Seattle's puzzle gone. I'm telling you, they're going to be willing to shuffle everybody. Listen, so when we were talking earlier about, is there a possibility DK Lockett? 100%.
I really like the fact that you brought Lockett in there, Tyler Lockett. That would be huge, a huge addition to the Bills. So let's look out for that. And Pierre broke it down to us, man. His cap is nothing, 2.3 million, and I think
didn't even realize that.
Year. Yo, that's nothing. Yo, go out and get that dude straight up and down. So let's get back into the process or problem. So Greg Rousseau process, Carlos Basham process, AJ Epenesa, problem or process?
Once again, it comes back to how I feel about the majority of the guys who have not had a ton of time with this Bills defense yet. It's hard to say problem when I don't necessarily think that they have been a problem yet. Yet again, I don't think anybody has come in here and made a major statement on that line to where they could be considered the ultimate solution. But when I look at AJ Epenesa, I think that, yes, he's part of the process currently. He's somebody that at least they're young enough to where you can build around. The potential is still there. You only have 2 years with him on the roster, and who knows where it goes from there. At the same time, when you look at Epenesa or you look into the draft, which I know you keep referring to, where does the buck stop, right? Where you continuously try out these lower round guys on the D line, expecting for one of them to pop off. Are they really ever going to be any better than a guy like Epenesa? Maybe, but at that point, are you continuously firing off draft picks in the hopes of something becoming, an absolute steal, when in reality, we know that's just not the way it works. You got to be incredibly lucky. And usually anymore, when there's talent on the D line that is noticeable, it is eaten up immediately. So Absolutely. Because of that, I think process for now, Rico, for sure.
I'm in on process. Star Lotuleilei is, for me, problem. For you?
So I'm sticking with process only because of that comment I saw earlier. I would just hate to see $7 million go by the wayside for nothing.
Love it. Okay. Eli Ankou, depth player. We signed him to a futures contract. I'm all in on Eli Ankou. I have my biases, obviously, but he did show some flashes this year that I was really impressed with. So I'm in on Eli Ankou. Process for me. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with Eli. Problem, process. What are your thoughts?
No, I'm agreeing with you there just because of, like you said, the depth. And once again, just another piece that I don't know if I know enough about to necessarily say it's an issue. So for that reason, I would say if it's a player right now that is a depth piece and somebody that, because you know how it is on the line, especially with this team, if you show signs of being able to be competent, you're going to wind up getting an opportunity. So if you're on the roster, your opportunity is eventually going to come.
Done. Love it. Justin Zimmer, do you bring him back? Is he part of the process, or is he a problem? Get rid of him. We need more different pieces on the team. I'll tell you, I'm processed on Zimmer.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Zimmer. I like his athletic ability. I like his ability to freaking push the pocket, get penetration. It's unfortunate because I wanted a big year out of him. The year before, he had a freaking good year when we had no fans in the stands and all that good stuff. I anticipated really good year from this year, and then he tore his ACL. Then it was done. So I'm in on process. We'll see what plays out. What are your thoughts on Zimmer? In or out?
Well, you're right. I mean, barely played last year. It's just the problem is when you look at this D line, it's either a lot of guys who are fresh out of the draft or guys who've been bounced around the league. You know what I mean? And it's just, I think that's probably another reason as to why the rotation on this D line is so frequent, is because there's a lot of similarities here, doesn't it seem? Where it's just like trial and error. A lot of there's nothing set in stone, because I don't think there is anything to set in stone. Right. But like you said, I mean, once again, back to the previous examples, had a pretty good year during the pandemic there. And when you have an opportunity to do so with fans in the stands, he only played 6 games. So I'm willing to give a little bit more time there and go process.
I'm in the process for that for sure. Efe Obada, problem, process.
A good question. I mean, all of these, I'll tell you what, every single one.
This goes out to the viewership. Efe Obada, are we in a process or is he a problem? Get him out of here. Z-Bot, what do you got?
Once again, you look at it and he's got 1 year with Buffalo, right? He's got 1 year with Buffalo. It's amazing how we continuously go through each one of these guys. And you and I both have pretty much, it's been like the same thing the whole time, where it's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, I guess, right? Either way, you look at the position, you look at each guy you got, and you wonder, you know, if somebody were to go into that position and if you flip-flop, how much of a difference does it make, right? I'm not entirely sure. I did like the pickup from Carolina when they got it. 3 years with Carolina, and it wasn't half bad. I think when they do wind up getting players from Carolina, they usually have a reason for it, since they do it so frequently. So because of that, I like the upside on Obada, and I'm willing to say process.
And you know what? I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say process, right? And here's the deal. We normally keep seven linemen, D linemen, 8 sometimes. Last year, we kept 9. We kept 9 linemen, right? And you can understand why there was such a rotation of guys. But enough of that. The experiment of having 9 linemen, stop that nonsense. Get your dogs, get the guys that play, and stick with your 7 linemen. So to me, I'm gonna go problem for Efe Obada. Just you want to you practice squad them, cool, but for the active roster, it is what it is. Problem for me. And what about Butler? Vernon Butler? Are you gonna bring him back? Depth piece.
What year is what's his contract situation currently? Do you know?
All I know is that he is going to be paid way too much money to bring him back.
That's a deciding factor on a lot of this too, right? Because when we continuously talk about these guys in the rotation and how everybody just kind of seems to be plug and play, you probably got to go with the guys who are less expensive at this point. If you're going to continuously be rotating in and out.
And I'm not bringing him back because he's out of contract right now, so I wouldn't even bother bringing him.
He is. Okay, so I agree with you then.
He's out of here. I ain't trying to bring his ass back. I'm good on that. Here's the last 2, man. What do you do with these 2 guys? Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes. Do you let them both walk, or do you bring one back? And if you're gonna bring one back, who is it that you bring back?
Man, I love Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes just feels like the one last piece of the vintage Bills, and you can't not love him. And I do think that I think he was enough of a centerpiece on that line last year to help out the other guys, the younger, more inexperienced guys, not have to deal with double teams. I think that's been the best thing that Jerry Hughes has brought to the table. But ultimately, when you talk about Jerry Hughes, I think most people are under the knowledge that it's coming to its end. When you look at it, this is going to be his 13th season. He's given 9 tremendous years for Buffalo, and I've really enjoyed having Jerry Hughes on the team. But it's clear and obvious that they're going young and fast on this line. I don't know if that is essentially what you're going to be wanting to continue at this moment? And if you do re-sign Jerry Hughes, what's the contract, right? Would it be just a year?
It'd probably be a 1 year.
That's what I would, right. That's what I would assume. I don't see him doing it. I really don't.
1 year, $6 million. Are you doing it?
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You're saying bye-bye.
I'm saying bye to Jerry Hughes.
Bye. You're saying bye-bye? You're gonna do the NSYNC on him?
Unfortunately, I'm saying goodbye to Jerry Hughes. And it sucks because I like I said, it just feels like that this whole team is so, for the majority of it, when you look back at the teams of old, which it's not fun to talk about those usually. I always loved knowing that Jerry Hughes had kind of come from the tail end of that into this and has been kind of that veteran guy for this team for the last few years.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this, man. I love Jerry Hughes as the long-standing Bill that he is. I like his story. We brought him in. Grow, you know what I mean? Whaley brought him in. They had him for dead in Indianapolis, and his career was resurrected in Buffalo. But listen, we've seen the writing on the wall the last couple of years. He just hasn't been that guy.
Yeah,
to get after the passer. That's what we got. That's what we signed him for. That's what he's on the team for. Veteran leadership aside, your job is to get after the quarterback, and you didn't do it well enough, right? So if I'm picking between Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes, I'm picking Mario Addison. Mario Addison had 7 sacks. At least he's getting after the quarterback, doing something. You know what I'm saying? Yes, he misses a lot of tackles, but if I have to let both of them go, I'll let both of them go because we didn't draft 2 young stud linemen for no reason, just to bring back one of the veteran guys. But you got to bring a veteran guy and leave a veteran guy amongst these guys. So if I'm bringing one of those guys back, I'm bringing Mario Addison back, and Jerry Hughes can kick rocks. He can get going. Jerry Hughes would be asking potentially for a $6 million deal, and I'm sure he's got a lot. He feels he probably has a lot left in the tank, just not in Buffalo. You're gonna have to take that expensive gas tank of yours and move it on out. I don't know how far he's gonna get because that gas is pricey. So maybe he goes to New York. Maybe he joins the New York Giants with Brian Dable and them cats. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll definitely see how that plays out. But for me, he's a problem. Jerry Hughes, you out of here. Mario Addison, if it was up to me, if you had to bring a veteran back, I'd bring him back. But if I can say I can let go of both players, you're out of here too. That's like $10 million right there that potentially he's probably going to want to get somewhere. Probably not 10, probably like between 6 and 8. He's going to want, and I'm not doing that. I already got 2 stud young guys plus AJ Epenesa. You both old heads got to go out of here. Boom. So that's a problem for me. So that's on the defensive line. We're going to move over to the offensive line. All right. This might be a little easier for us to do. But why not? We're in it. We might as well get to it. So Deion Dawkins process.
Hey, you didn't bring up my man Harrison Phillips, by the way.
Oh, are you know what? How could I, first and foremost?
I don't know, because that's contract year. I was waiting for you to bring him up.
Listen, okay, well, he had a contract year, and in his contract year, he did pretty damn well near the end of the season.
Agreed.
But is it contract year? You know what I'm saying? We saw that in Marcel Darius, contract year went off. We saw that in Shaq Lawson, contract year, had a very good year. Are we just being bamboozled with these contract years?
I'm a big fan of Harrison Phillips. I think that in a year where he, first of all, injury riddled and a guy who like really had to work his way back into a position to where he was gonna, be able to prove that he was deserving of a contract. And I think this year he did that. I really do think he did that. Not to mention, and this means a lot, this carries a lot to me, 2 years in a row where he's nominated for Walter Payton Man of the Year. The guy is just an incredible guy. I've interviewed him a few times, and just off the charts guy. And I think that when you couple that with, I think, probably his best season as a Bill last year, in a year where he needed to prove it, and you look at the line, and it's, as we continue talking through this, there's not a whole lot of stability. When I look across the line there, Harrison Phillips is the guy that last year I think proved to me is deserving of being brought back 100%.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you. I think that he definitely, and I liked what he was doing before he got hurt. Before he got hurt, I was like, okay, he's coming on. Then he gets hurt. Then the following year, you're battling through trying to condition yourself to get back into play, and you're not all the way 100% back. This year, he was all in. And you saw a big difference with more time on the field, how he was able to penetrate, get behind the field, get tackles for losses. For me, I'm in on Mr. Harrison Phillips. And I think that with the bulking that he did, he put a lot of weight on in order for him
He's
to
a big boy.
go through the vigors of being a one-tech guy. He's a three-tech guy coming out of college. So he's put on some weight so he can take on the one-tech. So maybe he makes Star Lotuleilei expandable, get rid of him, and Phillips takes over, and then we draft, you know what I'm saying, another guy in this rotational-based defense that freaking McDermott has. Because, I mean, that's his philosophy, so that makes the most sense. So for me, process Harrison Phillips. Thank you for reminding me about that dude. He is that dude. And I think him being a stand-up dude on top of his great play is huge.
Well, I also think that carries weight there a lot. I know it carries weight for me, but I think in Buffalo, personally, I think that when it comes down to having to not sign a guy or keep one guy over another, I think that stuff plays a role for sure.
100%. Here's the deal. Mitch Morse, process, problem.
Oh my gosh. See, now it's so tough with the offense, in my personal opinion, because a lot of times the issues that might be a bigger issue are kind of brushed under the rug because you have Josh Allen. And when you're talking about this offense in particular, the one glaring problem obviously has been the inability to get it's somewhat respectable, but get a run game that really helps elevate the rest of the offense, right? And so now, and I think we should get into this a little bit, the constant talks about what they're going to do at that position. You have to get down to what we're talking about right now. What is more of, what's more of a solution that can be solved right now? Getting better at the running back position, sticking with this O-line, or finding a way to upgrade this O-line with sticking with the current running back room. Because if you're going to want to upgrade at the running back position, you're going to not be doing it through the draft anymore. That's done. They're continuously getting guys late in the draft who have, I think, done a decent enough job, but not clearly what we're looking for at that position. They're going to have to go out, and we'll talk about that later. Christian McCaffrey has been circulating on all the Bills boards. That was happening a while ago, and now the Panthers have made it official that they are shopping, and we all know how much the Bills love to get their hands on anybody who wore baby blue and black, and Christian McCaffrey's that guy. Now, when it comes down to the line, I mean, that's where it comes down to it, or that's where it comes to head with me every time. Every one of these guys, no matter what, I always, the first thing I think of is when it comes to the run game, how are we going to get that at a place where we don't have to rely on Josh Allen to be a leading rusher in half your games? Because it's just not going to be sustainable. So when it comes to Mitch Morse, give me a second to think on. I want to hear your thoughts first.
All right, here's my deal on Mitch Morse. Mitch Morse was on the cusp of us saying, okay, man, I don't know if it's going to work out. And then he took a pay cut. Took a pay cut to stay with the Bills, and then had a pretty damn good year. We've shuffled the line. We got better on the line, which made his play get better. It makes sense. It makes sense. However, we saved $7.5 million by releasing Mitch Morse. Problem is, we don't have a backup center. We don't have a guy that can just jump in and be that guy and be the guy that communicates with the line, that communicates and tells Josh Allen what's going on, pointing out who the Mac is and who the strong is and all that good stuff, right? So for me, although you can save $7.5 million, you lose knowledge and you lose veteran ability on that line. And I'm not willing to part ways with that. And I'm keeping my man Mitch Morse. He is processed. And in that regard, I mean, I'll try to find a way to kind of, extend and try to find a way to like ease ourselves in the cap and keep him long term. I mean, he's not an old guy. Like how old is Mitch Morse? Mitch Morse is, I don't even think he's 30 yet. Unless he's just pushing 30. So he's still got some years left in his game. So he does have the ability. I mean, he has that concussion issue. You know what I'm saying? One good hit and it could be a wrap for him, right? So you have to keep that in mind as well. So $7.5 million is a lot of money you can save, but you don't make your own line worse. You're supposed to make your own line better to protect your guys. So for me, I'm processed on Mitch Morse. What are your thoughts?
Well, when it comes down to that, what the Bills did on the O-line and as far as pass protecting, I think for the most part, it was pretty damn good. I wasn't necessarily, every game you watch, the only time you really thought that there was an issue on the line is when they wound up running up the middle. But then again, they also did that so frequently. It's like, how do you expect it to be anything other than what it was when you've seen it happen over and over again? To your point, I think it's a really good one. You have veteran ability at the center position, and you just lost your OC, right? This is going to be Josh Allen's first year without Brian Daboll. Do you really want to switch up the center position too at the same time? That's something to think about, because as you know, center is very important for a quarterback. And when you get into that rhythm, oftentimes it can change up when you go from one guy to another. And I think right now, when things are already going to be a bit different for Josh Allen this year, even though I don't think it's going to be obviously too much of an issue by any means, I wouldn't move off of Mitch Morse at this moment.
Neither would I. And I see some people saying, hey, just smack, you know what I'm saying, Ryan Bates in that center. No, thank you. Not because he can't play it, but within I'd rather someone naturally play the position, right? And Mitch Morse naturally plays that position. And we have a hole at left guard, and I think he did a great job at left guard. So you got to give Ryan Bates that left guard. You patch him in with Deion Dawkins, and you shore up that left side of the line with Mitch Morse, the reliable and smart, dependable Mitch Morse. You have no problems with that. It's the right side of the line right guard that you got to make a decision, which brings me to the next person, Daryl Williams. Daryl Williams signed a 3-year deal with a potential out in this year right now, and we saved $6.3 million by letting go of Daryl Williams, which then makes a hole at right guard.
Yeah.
Now, before you make a decision on that, we've also got a guard in John Feliciano. John Feliciano, you can save $3.5 million on him. For me, I'm out on John Feliciano. You got to go. You got beat by Ryan Bates. You got beat by Daryl Williams. Butker, you guys are like 1-1 type of thing. So for me, at 3.5 mil, I'm moving on from John Feliciano. That's just me. To me, he's a problem. Then it brings you back to guard play. You get rid of John Feliciano, you can't get rid of two guards. You save almost $10 million right there. But then you got things you got to fill in. Do you put a rookie in and plug him in and go from there? What are you in or out on Daryl Williams?
That's the thing. There's no depth. There's no depth. So you continuously talk about moving a guy, and then it's like, who are you going to replace him with? But I agree with you. Ryan Bates came in, and Pierre keeps nudging at the fact, because you know how big of a fan we are of him. It's not even a joke. When he came in, things were different on the offensive line. I don't know why. I don't know how. But the run game did seem to improve, and overall the effectiveness of the overall line play and the quality of it was better. And so because of that, I would definitely favor him over Feliciano for sure. Now, when you're talking about who to move off of at that position, ultimately, I think it comes down to, what is your plan in this offseason? How much cap space do you need? And if it's sizable, get rid of the guy that you can end up getting the most money out of. And who did you just say, right? What was the cap situation?
Was that? Say it again.
What was the cap situation for at the guard position that you were just talking about?
Oh, Daryl Williams, you save $6.3 million with Daryl Williams, and you save $3.5 million with $3.4 million, with John Feliciano. And you save another $1.5 million by releasing Cody Ford. So you can't just sit here and just cut. We're gonna have no one on the line. We need some kind of depth. So for me, I'm keeping Daryl Williams at $6 million. I'd keep Daryl Williams and just keep it moving. I know it makes a lot of sense to release him because we're not guaranteed to get these rookies. I mean, there is a Kenyon Green that is being mocked to the Bills, and he's one of the nicest guards in the game. So there's ways to go about it. But right now, to save your shillings, at least get rid of Feliciano. He can go join Bobby Johnson with the New York Giants, and then we keep Daryl Williams, and then we draft.
But is it worth doing the opposite and saving $3 million in keeping Feliciano and getting rid of Daryl Williams?
You could do that too. That's one way of looking at it. So I guess you're in on Feliciano and out on Daryl Williams.
I don't know if the difference between the two is sizable enough to justify dishing out another $3 million. What do you think?
Listen, it's business. At the end of the day, it's business.
Of course.
And you've got to put the best players on the field, and Daryl Williams is better than John Feliciano. So I'm saving money regardless. So I might as well save me $3 million, almost $4 million, and keep Daryl Williams. And we have a potential out in him next year anyway. And we draft a young guard, and then we go from there. So I'm out of Feliciano. I'm in on Daryl Williams. What say you?
Well, now you got me thinking. It's like, yeah, you want the better guy. I keep thinking about it in terms of money. If you're going to have to go with getting rid of one guy at the position, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with you. If you're going to go with the better player, then you're already you make a good point. You're already freeing up money at the position, so might as well go with the better player. So
you got to stick with the better player. You can't just save more money because I'm getting cheaper, and a lot of people do that, right? I'm getting cheaper, but my quality is garbage. But I'm not paying as much. Well, guess what? You pay for what you get.
No doubt.
What you pay for, right? And we got to make sure that we don't forget. We got a Lamborghini. We got a Lamborghini behind there. You're not gonna put your Lamborghini in a freaking over a port. You know those houses that don't have the garage, have a little port, right? Your Lamborghini is getting all the elements. No. You stick that in a garage. You put that in the garage and you protect it. That's the point. You can't just put them under a freaking port or a little. What do you call those tarps?
Like an awning or something.
You can't park your Lamborghini under an awning. I'm sorry. It's not the way it works here. It is not the way it works. So to me, Williams, I keep. Mitch Morse, we keep. Dion Dawkins, we already know he's processed. Daryl Williams, process for me. John Feliciano, problem. You got to go. I'm looking at who else? I'm looking at the line. Cody Ford. Do you keep him for depth, or you just say, you know what? The experiment is over with. We thought we could salvage something out of you. Second round bust. You got to go. Or you keep him for depth and believe in him, because now we have a new offensive line coach in Aaron Kromer that can get the most of it. And this is what I'm really looking forward to. Can Kromer get the most out of Cody Ford? That is I was already out on Cody Ford, but because we have a new O-line coach, Bobby Johnson didn't freaking develop these guys whatsoever. So we need someone that can bring the best out of these guys. Kromer. Can Kromer get something done with Cody Ford? I'm hoping he does, and that's why I want to keep Cody Ford. I want to keep Cody Ford because of Kromer and Kromer's ability to get the most out of him. You never know. Maybe we have the right guard play in Cody Ford all along. It just needed a better coaching, and we can get rid of both Daryl Williams. And I'm not saying that you do that, because obviously Daryl Williams is better, but Cody Ford could be something that Coach Kromer can work with. Now, time will tell. We can't tell right now. You don't want to make the mistake of releasing these two guys thinking Kromer is going to fix this guy and he's just still a bum no matter what. So we got to wait it out. But I'm going to keep Cody Ford as depth. I'm going to keep him as being, knowing that Kromer's there to kind of develop him.
Agreed. Well, the situation right now, as far as depth is concerned, there's not a whole lot of it. And the great point here being made by Rev, it's a rookie deal. So if you can keep a guy on a depth position for cheaper than anybody else, that's crucial. And like you said, I mean, who knows? Things come in and change with a new coach. That oftentimes is the case. And if you want to take a shot at it, who better to do it with than a guy on a rookie contract? So I'm going to agree with you there, especially because the lack of depth is something that, you got one guy go down and you're screwed. So having young depth at the position is crucial.
And it is. And at the end of the day, we're keeping most of our guys on the team, right? Dion Dawkins, Ryan Bates, Mitch Morse, Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle. He's not going anywhere. We're going to keep him for depth. So there's your 5 guys right there. And then Feliciano, you got to make a decision with Feliciano. Ike Butkers is out in the wind. Do we bring him back? RFA. I mean, there's so many things that we want to see. And I think that they like Ike Butkers. They got him from the Chiefs. I think he's been on the squad. I don't think they want to let him go. Although with his injury, I think they bring him back. But with that O-line, I think we'll keep most of them intact. It's the big number guys. I think Feliciano's gone. I think he's going to be part of the problem. And we stick with the young nucleus of guys, and we go from there. And that's pretty much it for the O-line, man. I mean, for the most part, we're keeping these guys. I put you on the spot because it's tough. This O-line, that's why I'm telling you, folks, the BF Network is where you need to be right now by going and downloading BF Network. It's simple. Go to your Google Play Store, go to your App Store, BF Network. It allows you to go through the team and figure out who you're cutting and who you're not. You think it's easy, you got 6 players to cut and try to make some room. Y'all make the decision and see what is available for you to sign. Z-Bot, you're the man. I love the fact that we have this going here. And what are you pointing at, man? What are you pointing at?
I was saying you're the man. I mean, it takes one to know one, bro. Come on.
Listen, and we got to ask the people. I got a question for everybody, man. Z-Bot and I, we've been trying to figure something out, right? And we're trying to make something happen between the two of us. We're gonna try to bring you guys a show every week with Z-Bot and I, and multiple guests are gonna come along on this platform for us. But what do we name our show?
What the hell do we call it, Rick? I was just thinking. Well, for starters, we haven't told anybody this.
No.
So this is exclusive inside info for anybody watching this, because we got a fat hype video coming out for this show that we have no idea what it's called yet. So eyes peeled for that.
Eyes peeled.
Two, me and Rico have been talking, and we can't come up with a name. And I was just thinking, Rico, we should
put it out there?
show it out to the people.
I
Get some suggestions. Maybe run a contest or something.
Listen, somebody's Pierre's stupid, man. Pierre's like, yo,
Pierre needs to get listen. Although I don't hate it. It could be like TikTok show 13 seconds with me and Rico.
Yo, 13 seconds. It's a 13 seconds podcast. Fam, that'd be lit.
We should definitely delegate it out though. Anybody who's got some good ideas. It's not easy. I mean, I'm trying to think of something that's like, I don't know, because when you think about it, you want to incorporate like you and I, the Bills, the Fanatic, and it's like there's a million things. And you also want it to not be 8 words long. So it's like, how the hell do you do it? You know what I mean?
Seriously, right? It's yeah, we can't do that. So folks, it's up to you guys. You guys have any ideas of what we should name the podcast between my man and Z-Bot? And it's gonna be, we're gonna promote it soon enough so you guys know what's going on. But soon enough, it's going to be the two of us handling shows. Z-Bot's going to have his own show. I'm going to have my own show. And then we're going to come together and we're going to break things down and have guests with us. It's going to be fun. We just need to find a nice, clever name that goes with both of us. That just makes sense. So if you guys have any great ideas.
This isn't half bad right here.
Bing and bot, bing bong.
That's the best one. Better than anything I've thought of. That's for sure.
It's the Bing and Bot show. It has a bit of a ring.
Listen, though, like you were saying, like that show's coming. We got the app right now, and folks, like it's March, so it's just we are like on all of us. We've been talking behind the scenes. Rico, me, Pierre, like we are so excited to get things absolutely motor in this off season and into the next season because. Big things going on over here, and we're loving every second of it. And obviously, because of you guys, that's the whole reasoning for it. But the app, for starters, is the newest thing, and you guys gotta go check it out if you haven't already. It's freaking sweet.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. And there's more additions to the team coming, man. We got some big things coming. We got additions coming to the squad. Listen, man. Never count out BF, man. We always up something. And when you think something's going on, and then boom, we hit you with something else. It just never stops, baby. So, ladies and gentlemen, two bills and one bot. 2 bills a bot. I like that.
It's a meeting of the minds in here, at least. At least people were thinking tonight more than I am. That's for sure.
I'm telling you, man. That's the way I look at it, man. So, folks, enjoy the rest of the night. Me and Z-Bot, we got some work to do. I can't wait for the promo to come out. It's gonna be banger. I had Rico
testing out his cinematography skills. And,
how was that? Did that work?
Hey, listen, I gave you my
direction.
I'm no James Cameron. Let's just say that wasn't the best direction, but I think you definitely did the most with it. But you took it in your own hands. You got the vibe. You got the vibe.
Listen. I do a lot of when I cook and I knew I made a monster dish. Some people just sit there and take a picture from the top. No. You make a meal. You got to come from the side angle. You got to swoop in. You got to drop down and give them every angle of that dish you just made. And I tried to incorporate that into giving you those clips. So I hope you can make magic out of that.
Well, I see some of the stuff you chef up on your Instagram, and you're never screwing around in the kitchen. I don't know if anybody knows that about you.
I do not mess with food. I love cooking. That's my deal. Yo, man, I gotta get that Chef Caruso. Who's that Buffalo kid that cooks the steaks all day? I like that dude, man. I mean,
I don't know, man, but the guy, the private chef from the private chef that Allen flies out or whatever. He was doing the West Her event. That guy is no joke, dude. Ask Clay. Him and I, this guy made these filet mignon sandwiches with like a lobster thing on them. And I'm like,
oh, you guys ate well. You guys ate well over there.
Dude, I'm hanging out. I'm watching Josh Allen play on the golf simulator while I'm eating filet mignon. And I'm like, dude, like, what is going on? I know, man. What the hell?
Eating filet mignon, watching Josh Allen take golf swings. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do? And then you see Josh Allen out on that celebrity tour. He did might as well be in the PGA. I got the behind the scenes tour, which was cool.
Let me tell you something, man. You guys were that close to sitting down with Josh Allen. That close.
Oh, we sat down with him. Oh, we sat down with him. Oh, that's for sure.
You sat down, but didn't get
a word out. Rico, that 13 seconds. That interview was the OG 13 seconds right there.
13 seconds. Hey, Josh, we're going to get ready to go soon. You ready to go? Yeah, for sure. Hey, Josh, we're going to need you. Hey, guys, got to go. All right, there's our interview with Josh Allen. Listen, dude, we're going to make sure it happens this year. That's for damn sure.
You're not kidding. To this day, that edit Clay made with the sad music, it is the hardest I've ever laughed in my entire life. But you heard it here first. We invented the 13 seconds with JA. That's for sure. Before they went ahead and did it in the divisional round, we invented it.
I love it. Well, listen, folks, that's it for us, man. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We had some good conversation, and it's never going to stop. We're always going to give you that good heat, that good stuff. So that's our time, folks. That's my time. I got to get to work. I work the overnights. So
this guy, man, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do that.
When you work the overnights, I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl, man. I stay up. Wifey is like, yo, like, what is wrong with you? I was meant to work the overnight. And that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's our time. I hope you guys enjoyed the show with Z-Bot and Rico. 13 Seconds Podcast. Who knows, man? We're gonna find out what's really good. And it's much appreciated, man. So you guys go ahead and download that app, BF Network. And we're going to have some fun with this, man. So until next time, it's your man Z-Bot. It's your man Rico. And until next time, we are the Buffalo Fanatics. And I will catch you on the flip side. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a great night. Be gone. Let's go.